Welcome to the new episode of The Next Move with Venkat. Today we have a wonderful guest with us, Safia. She is running not one, not two, three businesses altogether. So we are very excited to know more about you. Safia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Obviously, people may not know who I am. So my name's Safia Hoti-Bellamy. I'm the co-director of Pure Punjabi, and we're a North Indian heritage food business. And we focus on preserving and maintaining the cookery methods of the mothers and grandmothers of Punjab. And we do this through three avenues of the business. So we have our cookery school, our artisan products, and our private events. Over the last 12 years, we've won major food and business awards, and we've delivered our food to over 20 countries and been featured in national and international press. At the moment, we're focusing on the writing and completion of our first book, which is called The Business of Recipes. And our big game is to convert our face-to-face global audience into more of a digital family so that we can reach more people who want to have the real food of the grandmothers.
That is an amazing intro.
Thank you.
So we just want to know more about how it started, where it started, the motivation behind it. Can you please elaborate a bit more about it?
We have quite an unusual start story. So it started in excess of 12 years ago. My mother had a specialty and fine food shop. And at the time, cottage industry was really, really small. She was asked to stock spices in her shop. And my mother is Punjabi, born in the UK, but Punjabi ethnicity. And at the time, she was given a list of local providers, and they were all sort of indigenous to the UK, these producers. And they were putting together mixes of spice blends from different countries that they kind of picked up on holiday. And everything that my mum stocked in her shop was on the basis of, if I couldn't hand on heart recommend it to a family member or a friend, I shouldn't be selling it in my shop. And so she was like, as an Indian person, I can't really be stocking products I wouldn't use. So she went to the local authority and said, what do I need to do to actually set this up? And they said spices are very low risk category. And, you just need to do these few things for like food hygiene and health and safety. And this is the notes and the documentation you need to keep. So she set up the business to supply herself. I was at university at the time studying French and business management. And she, one weekend when I came home, said, you don't need to worry about this, but I've set the business up as a limited company. But when I was doing the paperwork, you have to have a minimum of 2 names listed. So I thought you would mind the least out of you and your 2 brothers. It doesn't need any commitment from you. Your name is just on a document somewhere, and that's all you need to know. So I was like, okay, sounds good. And I then worked in London as a conference producer on international conferences, left that job, and wasn't sure about taking the next job. And my mum, as most Indian parents are, you always have to have a work of some kind. You cannot be without work. And
Yeah.
so she said, if I give you a startup loan of £5,000, take a year, see what can happen. You come from the events industry, add events, and if it doesn't work, just go and get a job after a year. And within the first year, the products won a Great Taste Award. I was shortlisted in the county as a young entrepreneur. And the business was only really kind of supposed to be for me to look after, but very quickly it became more work than just for one person. And so it kept us absolutely flat out within about 6 months. And that was over a decade ago.
Yeah. 12 years is very long journey, I would say. It is not
It is.
an easy job to just sustain in the industry. How is your mother and daughter relationship in the business? So you told me like your mother started this business and now you are the director of the company.
She did. So we work very much hand in hand. I would say in the first year, it probably took a bit of adjustment because your family members in one camp and your business partners in another, and you have to kind of blend the two. I think it works really, really well. And people always ask us the question of how do you manage it being family? And I think the key thing is neither of us is like jockeying for position. We have a really natural divide in who likes to look after which areas. And because that divide falls so naturally, we're never really fighting over the same things. So I tend to look after more of the food production side and the event management side and the writing of the workshop itineraries, my mother will be more accounts, HMRC, kind of the business structure, all that kind of like stuff. And so sometimes we're passing ships in the night, but it works really well. And we have implicit trust. We know we've
Mhm.
got each other's back. And I think that's the big thing when you divide things out. If you're running a business with, another person or other people, you have to ultimately have absolute trust in each other.
Next question from my side is for you. How is your typical day looks like in terms of your business and with your team?
So we don't really have a typical day.
Mm.
We have different seasons because we have three divisions within the business. So we have the cookery school as one division. We have private events, which covers things like dinner parties, weddings, corporate experiences. And then we have artisan products. Depending on what month we're in, the focus will be very different because you have seasonal peaks. So in the summer, it will be full of weddings, parties, and I will usually be on a plane or in a car or on a train going somewhere to deliver and meeting the teams on site. And then, there'll be other times of the year when we are absolutely, like now, our heads are down into writing the book, getting all the visual assets taken and sorted and organized. So there's no real typical day. But with our teams, a lot of our teams are freelancers. So we like to run quite a lean organization and quite an efficient organization. A lot of entrepreneurs that we have met over the years, some very successful ones, when we first started, always advised us act as though you have no budget, even when you have a budget, because creativity and real excellent execution comes from when you are as scarce with your resources you can possibly be, because you just let your imagination really do the talking and do the work. So we always, even if we have a decent budget for something, we try to keep everything as lean as possible so that the business is operating as it should do, and making profits where it needs to. So yeah, we keep all of our teams freelancers and we have good relationships. I think you have to work really hard on your relationships with all of your staff, whether they're your management level or whether they're the teams. And you need to take time to get to know them, because if you don't know your team members or your management members well, when something goes wrong, perhaps not through anybody's fault, you need to understand what motivates them and what the strengths are in their character, so that in that split second decision, say on a wedding, for example, they've overrun on taking their photos because they've had amazing weather and you've got something happening in the kitchen and you need to make a split decision right quick before this turns, before this burns, before this guest gets angry because they're hungry. You need to decide, right, this person is amazing at handling angry people, so send that person out to the front. Right, this person is really cool and calm in the back when there's like all the heat is going. You need to know your teams well. So to keep really good freelancer relationships, you have got to get to spend time with your teams.
Yeah, yeah, completely makes sense. Of course, I think I have worked with the freelancers, so there will be a kind of difference between having in-house teammates and someone who is working freelancing. Like they're not fixed with us, so some in the timely manner we tend to have so many teammates coming in, so many people going out. So obviously, it is a kind of challenging work
Mm.
sometimes. Of course, we have two different kinds of things compared to in-house and the freelancers.
Mm.
So to talk more about the cookery classes, do you conduct only online or offline, or you have any physical space set up for the classes?
So it's all physical, face to face,
Mm.
currently. So we have quite a large HQ. We moved here about 3 years ago because we ran out of space at our previous place that was already pretty big.
Mm.
But we have always taught from where we live. That is one of the unique things that you get with us. You are literally getting access to an Indian family's home and the home way of cooking. And, you learn literally at our side. But, we needed a little bit of a larger area.
Mm.
So people come to us, and we're currently in South Somerset, and we have a dedicated area where people come. We've got stations. It's all set up really nicely. And yeah, it's very hands-on. Nothing is sort of, sit down and watch from afar. It's all small groups, as it would be if you were with your, siblings or your cousins learning at your mother or auntie or grandmother's side.
Mm, yeah, got it. So you've been working for the last 12 years for the cooking classes, or when did you start?
So yeah, for 12 years. Producing the artisan spices, teaching the cookery workshops, and running the events, whether it's national or international.
Mm,
And obviously, there's a lot of variety within that. The other thing I would say is my business partner and I, obviously my mother,
mm.
we do also freelance occasionally, and we have separate side projects that us as two independent professional women we still do. I think that's actually really important. I think when you're running a business, there will always be times when you need to lock in your focus and look at nothing else. But actually, sometimes when you freelance or you have side projects that you get involved in, it opens up your network. You form genuine relationships and connections. And also, in certain fields like medicine, for example, it is expected that you do continued professional development. You take days out, you do retraining. And when you have a business, it's really easy to just avoid that for yourself and just be looking at, the teams that you're managing or your client relationships. But actually, you need to make sure you're constantly just pulling yourself out, because that break in the intense headspace it can be sometimes when it's your own business is really, really important. And when you're looking at a similar operation to your own, but it's somebody else's, sometimes you come back with so many ideas, or it just gives you a boost in energy that you didn't know that you needed. So I would always encourage people and pick the season when it's right. There will be seasons in your business where it's not appropriate to take on other projects. My business partner often does judging of awards and supporting people within the community and them either learning about business or any form of sort of mentorship. And it's really, really important that we both do it in different ways. I will travel nationally and internationally to support with different events or brand representation. And it's just fascinating when you see it in either your own industry or another industry.
So you've been in the industry for a very long time. What are the kinds of trends? Are there really trends happening in the cookery classes? If so, what are the different types of changes you've been observing in the past few years?
So I think the pandemic really, regardless of what country you were in, impacted
Yeah.
food, hospitality, and events of any kind. All those industries shut down for a short period of time. What is interesting where I do work internationally is a lot of other countries have just bounced back and recovered. The UK hasn't really had that. There has been quite a big shift. And what I would say is, pre pandemic, a lot of people were going to public events, ticketed things. And generally, if an event was on and running, they would book it. They would book it far in advance. They would come with a big group of other people. During the pandemic, where we had so many lockdowns, I think in the UK, the observation when I compare to other countries is people built bars at home. They would invite their groups of friends around and they would order, custom printed stickers, custom printed, whatever it might be. And they would really tailor an event to what they wanted. So then when the industry opened back up and they would see an event that was there to book, and it was 80% of what they might have wanted, but not 99, they're a lot more picky now with how they're spending their time. So we have certainly noticed that anything that is a general event, and this is not just us, but across the industry, is a much harder thing to convince people in the UK. In other countries, it's made no difference. We have found that people want far more tailored experiences. And so things like private parties or private workshops where they are handpicking their itineraries, they're handpicking their menus, all of those sorts of levels of customization are really, really popular. And you see it now across the board with sort of different subscription models. Before you just subscribe to a supplement of one kind. Now you have supplement companies where it's take a cheek swab and send it off, and it will be custom supplements just for you and what you need. And I think that is the market now in the UK, a lot more tailoring of
Yeah.
experiences and products.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. So you are offering different kinds of meal kits.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're offering different kinds of meal kits. So in terms of the, what I would say, like the dietary preferences, so how do you see this angle, the dietary preferences, and how it is really affecting or aligning with the meal kits?
So there is a shift for the meal kit side of the business. So I would say pre-pandemic, it was a lot more dietary focused, the way that people were shopping. And just to explain how our meal kits work in particular, it's all the dried ingredients and spice blends, the key spice blends your mother would give you if you were to leave home today and you said, Mom, when I get there, I want to make, like your dal, or I want to make your chicken, or I want to make your keema, and you couldn't carry any fresh things with you because you didn't have refrigeration, she'd go to her masala daba and she'd say, okay, this is the bit you need here, and you need good lentils, and you don't want mushy rice, so here's the rice. Take it all with you, and you get to the other side, get the onion, get the tomato, get the chili, the fresh bits that you add at the time of cooking. So that's how our meal kits work. Found that pre-pandemic, it was a lot of dietary picking, so like plant-based or gluten-free now. And I think this is one of the things where AI is coming in a lot to the working world, and different social media platforms are continuing to grow. I think there's been a lot of movements, especially in the last, I would say, 6 to 12 months, where the Desi community, so, Indian subcontinent, those communities, whether they're born in India or whether they're born in other countries, but, they're very strongly connected to their ethnic origins, are yearning for the original foods. So we're finding now it's kind of the traditional way and the authenticity that is really what people are searching for. So
Mhm.
that, and also, especially within the communities where they have traveled abroad, the sad reality is, and this is certainly the case in our family and why we have our heritage preserved. My nanny, so my maternal grandmother, passed away when I was 1.5. And her passing made my mother realize the sheer amount of knowledge that she had passed on to her. And she had made a decision when we were very small, my older brother and I, that if she didn't teach it to both of us, so not just me as the girl, but also to him as the boy, and obviously my younger brother later was taught as well. That's a loss of heritage, a huge amount of heritage. And many of my friends who were Punjabi, Gujarati, Bangladeshi growing up, they were lucky enough that they still had their grandparents alive and living in their homes, cooking their food and filling their fridges. The sad thing that they hadn't realized is the knowledge wasn't being passed on because everybody's busy with their lives. What we
Mm.
are now finding increasingly is my generation, who are in their early working professional career, they may have elderly parents or elderly grandparents who are not able to cook anymore, who are yearning for this food. And there's something that happens when people get older where they kind of regress back into childhood memories and they just want, sag and makki di roti. They just want a bowl of like, cooked greens and the cornmeal flatbread. And it's paining the current generation that they can't do that loving thing of giving them the bowl of food. So that's what we're finding now. The motivation wanting to cook the food isn't a trend, it isn't a dietary requirement. It's actually giving that soul food to sort of soothe somebody who is really missing, a bowl of original food. That's the motivation now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree with you. So these all food delivery apps, they just came into the market like 15 years to be maximum. But before
Probably
that,
that.
everyone used to cook in their houses. So do you think these food delivery apps are really affecting the current generation to learn to get that authentic recipes from their previous generation?
I know for certain, and obviously within India, India is such a tech driven nation,
Yeah.
super smart, super avant garde in terms of technological developments, and people are earning amazing salaries,
Mm.
amazing salaries, and, more power to them because they've worked hard for those achievements. However, you do note with that they just, I need to carry on working into the evening, quick, order food and it comes. And obviously they've got no control of how much oil or ghee is going in, the salt content, and they're not cooking. And obviously everything is a balancing in life, isn't it? If you need the time, of course, get somebody else to cook it for you. But you just need to make sure that you tick over that skill so that you don't lose it, and that you have the control of what's going into your food as well. So I think that they're great, and I think that they serve a purpose. But like everything, it's in moderation, isn't it? You have to balance these things out. And if you become over reliant on something, there is a yin and a yang. There will be an effect somewhere else in your life.
Yeah, yeah, completely true. So to just to discuss about your business, how you're handling your business.
Yeah.
So in terms of the marketing channels or in terms of the strategies you're following, what is really currently working for you?
So at the moment, we are doing a different strategy online. So we have been scaling up. Part of our move was to scale up our business, and global reach is more the focus now, because as we've seen with the pandemic, anything can happen. And so for us, it's really about growing the communities online. We have just been sharing videos of our workshops and our private events. And literally just last night, we had the first one sort of hit a 5-figure viewing within like the first 12 hours, which was amazing. So, we just continue on with honestly sharing what we do. And it was incredible to see how many people connected with it, which is really nice because for us, obviously a business is a business, but ours is so deeply linked to our heritage and our family. So when other people connect with it, it does really mean something. So yeah, for us, it is about growing our kind of family base online more, so that as people are more isolated or they have longer working days, you've got that same way of connecting with them. It's just in a different format.
So what are your best working marketing channels right now? Are you currently completely active on social media, or are you relying on any kind of email marketing?
So, we do a couple of things. So we have a really strong database. That was something that literally meant our business didn't die in the pandemic because we had direct contact with our customers, and they were amazing. We lost 80% of our revenue within the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, and within a further 2 weeks, we replaced all of that via our newsletter. We just wrote them a really honest letter and said, "Help if you can," and they did. So our relationship with our database is strong. In view with the book coming out soon, and this has been something that my business partner, my mother, has been looking after, we have been running competitions in magazines, and the reach has been astounding. We have had, on one campaign, we had, I think it was 35,000 page clicks and 25,000 signups. And we've been running these campaigns now for the last year and a half. So that was our first campaign that we ran. So obviously that's a lot of people. So that has been really great for us, for brand recognition, and for just building that relationship so that people get to know who we are. And then also now going down some of the other social media channels and just sharing what we're doing, with no other aim than just, letting people get to know us, and they're connecting with it, which is really nice. So within the next month, immediately, the completion of the book is really important. So that is a big focus at the moment. And then carrying on the marketing strategy for that, because obviously Christmas will be approaching, so that will be a key time. But then also you have January, which is summer in the Southern Hemisphere, and people are traveling and, buying books to read on the plane or when they're on holiday. So there'll be quite a big marketing strategy that we'll do around that. And then one of the other big focuses for us within the next 12 months is we moved to our current location so that we could scale up our meal kit production. So we currently produce in-house, and one of the challenges that we now have is very carefully and delicately outsourcing that so that we can maintain the quality. We have a food advisor who we were introduced to via our network, who has been incredible. He's worked with some amazing brands over the years and connected them with some really wonderful retail spaces. So he is retired and taking on just passion projects. So we're very lucky to have his expertise in our corner, and he is helping us to get all of our ducks in a row. So that is going to be a longer term project. Because obviously if you think the price of one individual product is much lower than the price of somebody having a whole event or a whole wedding, So that will take longer to organize. Also, because we need to do it responsibly and we need to make sure that we don't lose any of what our brand stands for as that process happens. So we'd rather just take a few more months to get it right rather than rush it and lose all of the reasons that people came to us in the first place. So we're just going to have to manage that process really carefully.
All right, all right. I'm really wishing you all the very best for your new beginnings. Like, obviously,
Thank you.
is it going to be your first book, the book launch?
Yes. So
Yeah.
my mother's writing the first book and I am in charge of all the visual assets. So when I say that, I say all the photography. So I do look after all our photography, and Times of India have used my photos, a Canva have. So I obviously I'm really keen to make sure that I don't let anybody down, mainly my mother. But she trusts me. She knows I'm going to work my hardest and that I'll make sure that the food is accurately represented rather than everything being scattered with coriander as you see on all the kind of main images in the UK, which we don't put all over our food. So yeah, it's just making sure that the food looks beautiful but is properly represented for what our real garnishes are. And if there's no garnish, we don't put it. I would say AI is coming.
Yeah.
Whether you want it to or not, it's coming. Learn about it, educate yourself. It will not replace everything. I think people who have a fear or who are scared that they're going to become irrelevant, I don't believe that to be true. Education does arm you with power. So just learn about it. Because we're at the beginning, there's so many free tools that you can use. So just learn more about what it can do. And it will never replace human judgment, but anything that is a monotonous task, boring, repeatable, but you need accuracy, copying of information, inputting of information, it's amazing for that. And, regardless of what size your business is, it will be able to help you in some way. It would be crazy not to learn about it. And the more you know, I feel like there's less to fear. So I would definitely say just embrace AI, understand the limitations so that then in the areas where AI is not the best solution, you can make sure you're razor sharp in your business in those areas so that you stay ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So are you currently incorporating any kinds of AI solutions in your business?
Yep. So we work with some amazing business advisors and mentors who are well known on many big global podcasts, the big voices in the industry. And we're currently really getting to grips with AI and ways that it can help us in our business. We have been around for a long time, but there's always ways that you can optimize. And I think one thing that we have never done, even though our business is about preserving our history, we have always embraced the way that future developments can help us. Because when you are trying to keep things as lean as possible, as every business should, regardless of its size, use every tool you possibly can. So we've always been digital facing, we've always been embracing of anything technological that can help us. And when you're learning about it, learn its limitations so that you know where you as the human need to come in and, tidy up that area where it falls a little bit short or it doesn't quite cover you fully.
Thank you again for taking your time. I really appreciate you for taking time for this podcast to share a few wonderful insights. I hope it really helps the audiences to get more about the business and the mindset behind the businesses and all.
I
Thank
hope
you.
so.
Thank you very
And
much.
I hope people found it helpful. They're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn if they want
Yeah.
to connect. I'm always open to, make new relationships. If anybody would like any advice, always there to try and help. So thank you for having me as well. And I hope this was useful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. For the note. So I'll anyway add, if you're watching it on YouTube, I'll anyway add the links in the description for Safia. You can connect if you have any questions or doubts related to the Pure Punjabi cookery classes and gifting also, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Safia.